Hey guys, it's Tony here, bringing you a video for HeyUGuysgaming. HeyUGuysgaming, in case you didn't know, in case you've been asleep for the past year, is one of the greatest video gaming websites in the UK. Go and check it out, the links are going to be down here. The reason I'm bringing you this is because in the last week, in the prelude, there's an opening salvo to Grand Theft Auto 5, which is of course coming out next week. Us guys here at HeyUGuysgaming, we've been having a bit of a Rockstar retrospective, really, looking at the Rockstar games in the lead up to this. We've got a couple of great articles, one from the 90s video game dude where he looks at the original Grand Theft Auto game. Go and check that out. As I said, just look down below. I'm going to put all the links here, so go along and check out the HeyUGuys website, because there are a few fantastic little things on there to do with Rockstar. And I was talking to them about jumping on and doing a video to do with this, and I was originally going to do something about Grand Theft Auto 4, the way that it basically divided the fans. But if you remember, quite a few eons ago now, when HeyUGuysgaming was Thumb Culture, I did a video about Grand Theft Auto 4 on there, and I just kind of thought, well, I've already kind of done that. It might be going over and doing the tricks, and as soon as they mentioned Rockstar, the first thing that came into my head was Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption is probably it's got to be at least in my top 10 games of this generation, if not of all time. I think the game is absolutely stunning, and in many ways I think it completely outperforms Grand Theft Auto 4 in pretty much almost every single aspect of it. Now, it was initially released in 2010. It was a sequel to the original game. What was the original called? Red Dead Revolver, that was it. I'm forgetting my bloody video games here. And the original game was fine. It was great. It was fantastic. It had a nice tongue-in-cheek sense of humour to it. And Red Dead Redemption was pretty much a more adult version of that game, really. I mean, I remember the guys at Rockstar basically reckoned that it took so much for them to actually make the game. They did really, really struggle with the game. There was lots of kind of Dan Houser and everything was coming out saying it was a real nightmare to create, and from a technical perspective the game was just a huge headache, partly because it's just very, very ambitious, and I remember Rockstar themselves essentially said that it was going to surpass GTA 4 to be in quotes the ultimate open world game, which I think it is. I do think the world of Red Dead Redemption is probably the greatest open world game that there is out there. I mean, I know lots of people will kind of jump in and talk about the open world games in, let's say, Just Cause 2, which is great. It's big and there's lots to do in it, but it doesn't actually really feel like a world. It does feel it's a bit sterile. You can do a lot with it, whereas I thought the world in Red Dead Redemption there was just something around every corner. There was lots of randomness to it, which I really liked. You know, you could be just going off on a mission, and a little side quest would come up where you've got to stop someone from being hanged, or there'd be a woman at the side of the road crying because she's been robbed, and you pull over and jump off your horse to help her, not knowing that it was a bandit trap, and all of a sudden 5 or 6 bandits would all jump out to try and kill you. You know, it was really set up that way, and I really did love that aspect to it. Lots of the other things that I liked as well were just incidental little things, such as when you were going around to try and craft items. I'm sure you've played it. I mean, the Red Dead Redemption game went on to sell about 13 million copies overall, so I'm sure you've played it. But if you didn't, you can go out into the wild and dig up various kinds of plants and flowers to make different potions and sell them to get money. And every so often you'd go through and you're there gathering plants and minding your own business, and all of a sudden a puma would just come out of the wild, or a bear, and come chasing you or whatever, and it just felt really organic. It was almost like as a precursor to Far Cry 3. The island felt really, really organic, and that's what I really did like about it. I mean, the one thing that really didn't do the game, really did the game any favours. It didn't do anything to harm it. Was the actual look at the game, and you can just see from the video running now that not only were the character models great, but the actual world itself the background, the way that the sun just cuts through the clouds and casts shadows on the floor. I mean, it still is one of the greatest looking games that's ever been made, in my opinion. The soundtrack to it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm coming from the point of view of being a Western fan. You know, from westerns such as The Treasure of Sierra Madre all the way through to, you know, The Unforgiven. I do love a good western, and the thing that I really loved about Red Dead Redemption was that it did really have that kind of Sunday afternoon, you know, sitting in front of the telly, it's raining and cold outside, and you're just, you know, lock yourself away in this little world. And as opposed to GTA, I mean, I still haven't finished GTA 4. I'm just chewing through the last kind of few missions, I think the last few missions anyway, of GTA 4, in preparation for the 5th one to come out, because even though I know they're separate stories, I want to kind of get 4 done and dusted and out of the way before I dive into 5. And I never had that problem with Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption, right from the opening moment of meeting John Marston on that train, all the way through to the end of the game, I was riveted. I just played. I played nothing else until the game had finished, until I basically soaked everything else up from the game. I mean, you know, if you haven't played the game, the story is pretty simple. You play as John Marston, the character, who's essentially a former outlaw, but he kind of settled down, he's got married, he's got his wife and kids, but some of his old gang are out there still terrorising, and the government take his wife and kid ransom in exchange for his services as a bounty hunter. So he's got to go out and try and bring the rest of his old gang to justice, and that's pretty much it. That's the setup of the game. And there's lots and lots of missions, there's lots of different characters that you meet throughout the game that will take you off on lots of different little tangents. There's lots of different places that you can go, such as across the Mexican border. It's just a staggering achievement. The game is such a staggering achievement. I love it so much. Also, as well, it was one of those games that had a fantastic online mode. It basically elaborated on what came before in Grand Theft Auto 4. And so you could go online, and it was anything up to, I think it was 16 players, but you could go in like a little posse mode, which I believe was like 8 player, and you could just go in, and it was essentially just a big toy box. You could just mess around and do whatever you want. You could go and take down different fortresses and towns in the game that had, you know, computer controlled gangs in there. There were kind of different little missions that you could go on. We just used to make our own little games. We'd all go on, select a donkey as a ride, all start at one point. Everyone would set our checkpoints to a certain other point on the map, and then just have a donkey race, just see who could get there the quickest in the donkey races. And it always ended up with people falling off cliffs. Even though we banned guns, someone would always end up pulling a gun out and shooting someone, and then it just turned into a massive, brutal murder fest. I mean, it was just fantastic. We used to have such a great laugh playing the online modes of the game, and it is just one of those games that even if you haven't played it up until this moment, if you know it's not really attracted you, you're not really into the Western type of thing, go and play it. It's such a brilliant game, and as far as I'm concerned, it epitomises everything that makes Rockstar the world-class company that they are. I think they had a little bit of a slip with GTA 4. I think they almost tried too hard, and it didn't really allow people that freedom that they wanted from GTA 4, which is why, you know, games like Saints Row 3 kind of crept in, and they've got a bit of fan base because it gave them that little bit of freedom that they wanted. And I think they're probably going to go back to that with GTA 5, because I know that they did lose a few fans with that kind of aspect. But I really do believe that the whole serious nature of Red Dead Redemption, going in with the kind of story and the world that Red Dead Redemption was, it didn't really lend itself that much to tongue-in-cheek humour. I think it would have really ruined the game if they would have kind of, I don't know, allowed you to go parasailing on bloody old wooden gliders or whatever they had in the bloody times. They left that for the Undead add-on pack.
Bill, please.
The Undead Nightmare add-on pack that came out was great. I mean, you could argue that zombies are pretty much overdone now. Zombies in video games, to me, are just getting a little bit boring now. But the way that they incorporated it in Undead Nightmare, it actually felt like it was more of a fit in that game than it is with, you know, Call of Duty and the World War II zombies. I mean, that's just got no real precedent. I mean, they haven't got any precedent in the Wild West either, but it just kind of, that whole fantasy werewolfy thing kind of suited the outdoor Wild West world than it does with a, you know, a German military base for some reason. But anyway, I'm just waffling now. So guys, thanks for tuning in and watching this video. This has basically just been me waffling on about why I like Red Dead Redemption so much, why I think it's much more of a better game than Grand Theft Auto 4, and personally, the one thing that I'm really hoping that Rockstar do with the PS4 and the Xbox One, I'm hoping that within a couple of years of release we're going to see a new Red Dead game coming out. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, nothing will make me happier than seeing a new Red Dead game. I really do hope that, you know, they get GTA and a few bits of DLC out of the way, and then we hear the rumours that the next Red Dead game is in production. Maybe starring the... well, I'm not going to go there. Just in case you haven't played the game, I'm not going to tell you maybe starring who. I'm just going to leave it at that. So guys, it's Tony here for HeyUGuysgaming. Thank you for tuning in and watching this video. By all means, let us know in the comments section what you thought about Red Dead Redemption, or on Twitter as well. It's just simply at HeyUGuysgaming on Twitter. So it's Tony here. Until the next video, you guys take care, and I'll probably see you in Grand Theft Auto 5 multiplayer at some point. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.